Breaking protocol. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the viewport of the Terran exploration vessel Horizon, watching the swirling violet atmosphere of Proxima B below. Her heart raced despite years of first contact training. This wasn't just another mission. It was humanity's first encounter with a confirmed intelligent alien species. Final approach vector locked, announced the ship's AA. Atmospheric conditions within acceptable parameters. Sarah adjusted her diplomatic course uniform, fingering the silver olive branch pin that marked her as Earth's chosen representative. The weight of humanity's future rested on what happened in the next few hours. "Show me the landing zone again," she ordered. A holographic display materialized, showing their designated touchdown point, a vast crystalline platform floating several kilometers above the planet's surface. Around it hovered what appeared to be living structures of light and energy, pulsing with colors that hurt human eyes to look at directly. "The Luminarians," Sarah whispered. That's what Earth had dubbed them, beings of pure energy and light, so advanced they transcended physical form. At least, that's what the theoretical xenologists claimed. No one really knew what they were dealing with. 2 minutes to touchdown, the AI announced, receiving new transmission from the surface. The hologram shifted, showing a swirling pattern of light that coalesced into a vaguely humanoid shape. When it spoke, the translation matrix converted it into a haunting, musical voice. "Greetings, Earth vessel. We await your arrival with great anticipation. Please follow the designated approach path precisely. Any deviation will be considered hostile intent." Sarah took a deep breath. "Acknowledged Proxima control. Following your vector exactly." As they descended through the violet clouds, she reviewed her mission parameters one final time. Establish peaceful first contact. Assess technological exchange potential. Negotiate possible trade relations. Most importantly, don't screw this up for humanity. The horizon touched down with barely a tremor. Through the viewports, Sarah could see dozens of luminous beings gathering around the landing platform, their forms shifting and flowing like aurora borealis given consciousness. "Atmospheric analysis complete," reported the AI. "External environment is compatible with human life support. Minor gravitational variance within acceptable limits." Right then, Sarah squared her shoulders and moved toward the airlock. Time to make history. The moment she stepped onto the crystalline platform, she felt it, a tingling sensation throughout her body, as if every cell was suddenly more awake, more alive. The air itself seemed to hum with energy. The gathered luminarians parted, creating a path toward one particularly bright being that pulsed with deep blue and gold patterns. As Sarah approached, it shifted form repeatedly, as if trying to find a shape that would put her at ease. "Welcome, Sarah Chen of Earth," it said, finally settling into a roughly humanoid configuration of swirling light. "I am Gateway to Understanding. We have long awaited this meeting." Sarah bowed formally. "Thank you for receiving us. Earth sends its greetings and hopes for peaceful exchange between our peoples." Peace, Gateway to Understanding's form rippled. An interesting concept from beings who still wear protective shells and require physical sustenance. "Tell us, why do you cling to such limited existence?" Sarah blinked, caught off guard. This wasn't in any of the first contact protocols. "Our physical forms are part of who we are," she said carefully. "They shape our experience, our understanding of life." "Ah yes, experience. Another fascinating limitation you embrace." The being's light patterns shifted to deep purple. "We observed your approach, noted how your body's chemical reactions increased, producing what you call emotions. Fear, excitement, anticipation, such primitive responses to new situations." With respect, Sarah felt her diplomatic training kicking in. "Those responses help us navigate complex situations and connect with others. They're not limitations, they're tools." The surrounding luminarians pulsed with what might have been surprise. Gateway to Understanding moved closer, its light casting prismatic patterns across Sarah's uniform. "You defend these primitive aspects rather than seeking to transcend them," Curious. Our records indicate most species evilly abandon physical form once they achieve sufficient technological advancement. Sarah stood her ground, though every instinct screamed at her to back away from the intense energy radiating from the being. Humanity believes in building upon our nature, not abandoning it. Our emotions, our physical experiences, they drive our creativity, our art, our desire to explore and connect. Art, creativity. Gateway's forms sparkled with new patterns. Show us. Sarah unclipped her personal tablet, hands steady despite the gravity of the moment. She pulled up images, Renaissance paintings, modern sculptures, dance performances, and finally, her favorite piece, Van Gogh's Starry Night. The luminarians crowded closer, their light forms pulsing in sync as they processed the images. The crystalline platform beneath them began to hum a higher frequency. This, Gateway to Understanding's voice held a new note. This was created through primitive chemical processes in a biological brain, without quantum computation, without energy-matter manipulation. Through human imagination, emotion, and skill, Sarah confirmed. There are countless more examples. The assembled beings began to pulse with rapid color changes, communicating in some ways Sarah couldn't understand. Finally, Gateway to Understanding spoke again. Perhaps we have been premature in our judgment of physical existence. These creations suggest possibilities we had not considered. We would learn more. Sarah felt a smile spread across her face. This was what first contact was really about, not just technological exchange, but genuine understanding between different forms of life. We would be honored to share our art, our culture, our experiences with you, she said, and to learn from your wisdom in return. As the crystalline platform began to lower them toward the surface proper, Sarah sent a quick message back to the horizon. First contact established. Initial cultural exchange proceeding. Note, they're more interested in our art than our technology, requesting immediate upload of Earth's major museum collections. Sometimes, she reflected, watching the luminarians continue to study her tablet with intense fascination. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't in our scientific achievements, but in the very things that made us human. The real work was just beginning. Bridging worlds. 2 weeks into her stay on Proxima b, Sarah Chen found herself in what the luminarians called the Chamber of Resonance, a vast space where walls of pure energy shifted and flowed like cosmic auroras. She watched in amazement as Gateway to Understanding and a group of younger luminarians attempted something unprecedented. They were trying to create art. The chemical patterns of joy. Gateway's form pulsed with concentration. You say they produce specific colors in human perception. Yes, Sarah explained, gesturing to her tablet where a spectrum of human emotions and their typical color associations was displayed. Though it varies across cultures, many humans associate yellow with happiness, red with passion or anger, blue with sadness or tranquility. The luminarians' collective form shifted, their usual precise patterns becoming more fluid, more chaotic. The chamber's walls began to ripple with new colors, not the mathematically perfect wavelengths they typically used, but something messier, more organic. Fascinating, one of the younger luminarians, who called itself Seeker of New Patterns, moved closer to Sarah. We have always used color as pure information, mathematical concepts given form. The idea of color as feeling, it changes everything. Sarah watched in wonder as the beings attempted to translate emotions into visual art. Their first attempts were strikingly alien, geometric patterns that shifted with perfect symmetry. But gradually, influenced by the human art she'd shown them, their creations became more abstract, more expressive. There is resistance, Gateway to Understanding admitted, its form flickering with what Sarah had learned to recognize as frustration. Our patterns want to return to optimal efficiency. Art isn't about efficiency, Sarah said gently. It's about expression, about capturing a moment, a feeling, a truth that goes beyond pure data. The chamber suddenly blazed with intense light as Seeker of New Patterns, broke from the traditional patterns completely, its form exploding into a chaotic swirl of colors that reminded Sarah of a nebula photograph, beautiful, random, alive with possibility. I feel something, Seeker announced, its voice trembling with new harmonics. A disruption in my energy matrix, but pleasant? Is this what you call inspiration? The other luminarians drew back, their forms pulsing with what seemed like alarm. Gateway to Understanding moved forward, its own patterns showing signs of struggle between order and chaos. This is unprecedented, it declared. For millennia, we have sought to perfect our control over energy and matter. Yet, here we find power in imperfection. Sarah stepped closer to the wall where Seeker's creations still swirled. Human artists often say that perfection isn't the goal. It's the raw emotion, the genuine expression that makes art meaningful. But it serves no practical purpose, objected another luminarian, its form rigidly maintaining traditional patterns. Doesn't it? Sarah challenged. She pulled up another image on her tablet, children playing in a park back on Earth. Look at their faces. The joy they're expressing serves no practical purpose, but it makes life worth living. Art, emotion, play, these things feed our souls. Souls, Gateway to Understanding repeated thoughtfully. Another concept we had dismissed as primitive, yet perhaps. Its form began to shift, slowly at first, then with increasing confidence. The chamber walls responded, filling with swirling patterns that somehow captured the essence of children's laughter, not the sound itself, but the feeling it evoked. The other luminarians watched in silence as their leader embraced chaos, their own forms showing subtle signs of change. Sarah felt tears in her eyes as she witnessed what might be the beginning of a profound transformation in an ancient species. Commander Chen, Gateway's voice held new warmth. We find ourselves at a crossroads. Our society has long valued progress only in terms of technological advancement, but these new experiences suggest we may have overlooked certain possibilities. Art has a way of opening doors we didn't know existed. Sarah smiled, remembering her own first encounter with Van Gogh's work as a child. We request, Gateway continued, its form still dancing with unprecedented colors, a formal exchange program. We would send some of our younger ones to Earth to learn more about these emotional expressions. In return, we offer to teach your artists about energy manipulation, to create art in ways your species has never imagined. Sarah's heart leaped at the possibility. This was far beyond her mission parameters, but she knew in her gut it was right. I'll need to consult with Earth government, but personally, I think it's brilliant. There will be resistance, warned one of the more traditional luminarians. Many will see this as regression rather than progress. Change is rarely easy, Sarah acknowledged, but look at what's already happening. She gestured around the chamber, where Seeker of New Patterns' original creation had inspired others to experiment. The walls now blazed with dozens of attempts at emotional expression, some awkward, some startlingly beautiful, all of them breaking new ground for their species. Perhaps, Gateway to Understanding said thoughtfully, its form settling into a new pattern that balanced order and chaos. This is the true purpose of First Contact, not just to exchange technology, but to help each other grow in unexpected ways. As Sarah began drafting her report to Earth Command, she couldn't help smiling. She'd come expecting to negotiate technology transfers and trade agreements. Instead, she was watching an ancient species rediscover the power of creativity and emotion, one color at a time. Sometimes, she reflected, humanity's greatest gift to the universe might not be our scientific achievements, but our ability to find beauty in imperfection and meaning in the mysterious dance between chaos and order. The real cultural revolution was just beginning. Unexpected evolution. 1 month into the cultural exchange, the first signs of real transformation began to appear. Sarah stood with Gateway to Understanding in what they now called the Gallery of Emergence, a vast chamber where the walls literally came alive with luminarian attempts at emotional expression. Something is happening that we didn't anticipate, Gateway's form shimmered with concern. The younger ones, they're experiencing changes. Sarah watched as seeker of new patterns, now her frequent companion, demonstrated the latest development. Its energy form, once rigidly geometric, now flowed like liquid light, forming shapes that seemed almost solid. It started after the music session, Seeker explained, its voice carrying new harmonics. When you showed us human dancing, how you use physical movement to express emotion, something awakened in us. The previous week, Sarah had introduced the Luminarians to Earth's various dance forms, from classical ballet to modern street dance. Their fascination with physical expression had been intense, but no one had expected this. We're developing matter manipulation abilities we never knew we had. Another young Luminarian, Dreamweaver, demonstrated by condensing its energy into what looked remarkably like a human hand, though it glowed from within. It's as if our suppression of emotion was also suppressing other evolutionary possibilities. Sarah approached the phantom hand, feeling the familiar tingle of Luminarian energy, but also something new, a solid warmth, almost like real flesh. "This is extraordinary," she breathed. "You're not just imitating physical form, you're actually manifesting it." Partial manifestation only, Gateway to Understanding moved closer, its own form showing signs of struggling with these new concepts. But yes, it appears that embracing emotional expression has triggered dormant abilities in our species. The Council of Elders is concerned. Sarah could imagine. The more conservative elements of Luminarian society had already been unsettled by the artistic experiments. This level of physical manifestation would be seen as an even greater threat to their purely energy-based existence. "Show her the other thing," Seeker urged Dreamweaver excitedly. Dreamweaver's form shifted, and suddenly there was music. Not the mathematical harmonies the Luminarians typically produced, but something that sounded almost like a human violin, played with raw emotion. The sound came from Dreamweaver's very essence, as if its energy form had become an instrument. "We're discovering that our energy can resonate in ways we never imagined," Dreamweaver explained, its form glowing brighter with excitement. "We can create not just visual art, but music, texture, even," it hesitated, then added, "feelings." "Feelings." Sarah looked at Gateway questioningly. "Some of the younger ones report experiencing emotional resonances similar to human patterns," Gateway admitted. "Not just understanding emotions intellectually, but actually feeling them. It's unprecedented." As if to demonstrate, Seeker moved closer to Sarah, its form shifting into a more humanoid shape. "Watch," it said, and reached out with a partially manifested hand to touch a flower Sarah had brought from Earth, a simple daisy. The moment contact was made, Seeker's entire form blazed with colors. "Joy," Seeker whispered. "The sensation of soft petals, the delicate structure, the pure life force of it, it creates joy. I don't just analyze these qualities now, I feel them." Sarah watched in amazement as other young Luminarians gathered around, each taking turns to experience physical sensation through their newly developed abilities. Their forms flickered with colors that seemed more vibrant, more alive than ever before. "The Council fears we are regressing," Gateway said quietly to Sarah. "They believe embracing physical sensation and emotion will weaken us, make us vulnerable forgive me, like less evolved species." "Or maybe," Sarah suggested, "you're not regressing at all. Maybe you're evolving into something new, a synthesis of energy and matter, logic and emotion, the best of both worlds." Before Gateway could respond, a commotion arose from the younger Luminarians. Dreamweaver had managed to manifest multiple instruments worth of sound simultaneously, creating a complex piece of music that brought tears to Sarah's eyes with its beauty. "Stop," a new voice commanded. A group of elder Luminarians had entered the chamber, their forms rigid with traditional patterns. "This experimentation must cease. It threatens the very foundation of our society." But as they moved to interrupt Dreamweaver's performance, something unexpected happened. The music, instead of stopping, grew stronger. Other young luminarians joined in, their energy forms harmonizing in ways that created not just sound, but visible waves of emotional resonance. The elders tried to impose their will, attempting to dampen the energy patterns, but the younger ones had discovered something powerful. Emotion, once awakened, couldn't simply be shut down again. "Look," Sarah said to Gateway, pointing to where the waves of music were actually causing changes in the chamber's crystal structure, creating beautiful organic patterns. "They're not just making art now. They're literally reshaping their world through the combination of emotion and energy." Gateway's form shifted thoughtfully. "Perhaps," it said slowly, "it's time for our society to face a truth we've long denied. Perfect control isn't the same as perfect evolution." As the chamber filled with music and light, Sarah watched young luminarians experimenting with partial manifestation, creating sculptures of pure energy given semi-solid form, dancing with their new quasi-physical bodies, expressing joy in ways their species had never known before. She realized she was witnessing something extraordinary, not just cultural exchange, but the birth of a new form of existence, one that bridged the gap between energy and matter, between logic and emotion, between the physical and the transcendent. The revolution couldn't be stopped now. It was evolving. Lines in the light. The crisis erupted faster than anyone could have predicted. Sarah stood in the council chamber, watching as energy forms clashed in brilliant displays of light and color. The conservative elders, their patterns rigid and geometric, faced off against the increasingly numerous evolutionaries, younger luminarians who had embraced emotional expression and partial physical manifestation. "This contamination must end," declared High Elder Preserver of Ways, its form pulsing with harsh, controlled light. "The human must be removed, and all affected individuals must undergo pattern cleansing." Pattern cleansing. Sarah whispered to Gateway to Understanding, who hovered protectively near her. "A process to strip away divergent energy patterns," Gateway explained grimly. "It would effectively erase their new abilities and their emerging emotions." Seeker of new patterns moved forward, its form now a beautiful blend of energy and semi-solid matter. "We refuse cleansing," it announced, voice harmonizing with multiple tones that filled the chamber. "What you call contamination, we recognize as growth." To demonstrate, Seeker manifested a partially physical hand and created a sphere of pure energy above it. The sphere began to shift and change, telling a story through color and form, the history of their species, but with a new perspective. It showed how their pursuit of perfect control had gradually stripped away vital aspects of their being. "Look," Seeker urged the elders. "In pursuing transcendence, we didn't evolve beyond physical form. We imprisoned ourselves in rigid patterns. Through human art and emotion, we're finally breaking free." Dreamweaver joined in, adding harmonics that turned Seeker's visual display into a full sensory experience. The chamber filled with a symphony of light, sound, and partially manifested shapes that danced together in beautiful complexity. Several of the younger council members showed signs of wavering, their own patterns beginning to ripple with new possibilities. But High Elder Preserver of Ways flared with intense, controlled energy. "This disorder ends now," it declared. "Initiate mass pattern stabilization." The chamber's crystals began to hum with dangerous frequency. Sarah recognized the signs. They were activating some kind of energy field that would forcibly reset all luminarian patterns to their pure state. But the evolutionaries were ready. Led by Seeker and Dreamweaver, they joined their energy forms together in a way Sarah had never seen before. Their combined consciousness created a shield of swerving light and emotion-infused power. "Stop." Gateway to Understanding moved to the chamber's center. "Before we take irreversible action, the human should speak. She has witnessed both sides of our nature now." All eyes, or whatever passed for eyes among energy beings, turned to Sarah. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of an entire civilization's future in her words. "On Earth," she began, "we have a concept called biodiversity." The idea that an ecosystem is strongest when it contains many different forms of life, each contributing in its own way. Perhaps the same is true for consciousness itself. She gestured to the evolutionaries. What's happening here isn't contamination, it's diversification. Your young ones aren't losing their energy-based nature, they're expanding it. They can now express themselves in ways that bridge the gap between pure energy and physical form, between logic and emotion. The chamber hummed with tension as she continued. The greatest human achievements often come from synthesis, bringing together different ways of thinking, of being. Art and science, emotion and reason, physical and spiritual. Why should your species have to choose between energy and matter, between control and feeling? High Elder Preserver of Ways form pulsed with dismissal. Pretty words, but they don't address the disorder this change brings to our society. Disorder? Sarah challenged. Or growth? Look at what they've created already. She nodded to Dreamweaver, who filled the chamber with a new kind of music, mathematical precision married to emotional resonance, creating harmonies that even the elders couldn't dismiss as mere chaos. Seeker joined in, demonstrating how their new abilities could actually enhance traditional luminarian energy manipulation. The partial physical manifestation allowed for more complex energy patterns, more nuanced control. We don't have to lose our identity to evolve, Seeker declared. We can be both energy and matter, both logical and emotional. We can be more. The chamber erupted in debate, energy forms pulsing and swirling as the luminarians argued in their own unique way. Sarah watched as younger council members began shifting their patterns, moving away from the rigid geometric forms of tradition. Finally, Gateway to Understanding spoke. I propose a compromise. Let those who wish to explore these new abilities do so in their own space. Those who prefer traditional patterns may maintain them. Let time and evolution show us the true path. And if their evolution proves destructive, High Elder demanded. Then we will have learned something valuable, Gateway answered. But if it proves beneficial, and we suppressed it, we will have committed an unforgivable act of stagnation. The debate continued for hours, but in the end, Gateway's proposal won enough support to pass. The evolutionaries would be given their own sector of the Crystal City to explore their new abilities freely. As the chamber finally emptied, Sarah found herself surrounded by excited young luminarians, their forms dancing with colors she'd never seen before. Thank you, Seeker said, briefly manifesting a fully physical hand to touch her shoulder. The gesture, simple but profound, symbolized everything they were fighting for, the ability to bridge worlds, to experience life in all its forms. Don't thank me yet, Sarah smiled. The real work is just beginning. You have to prove that this evolution is beneficial, that emotion and physical expression can coexist with your energy-based nature. We will, Dreamweaver promised, its form shimmering with determination. We'll create art that speaks to both sides of our nature. We'll show them that feeling doesn't make us weak, it makes us complete. Looking at their glowing forms, seeing the beautiful blend of energy and emotion, logic and creativity, Sarah felt a profound sense of hope. Sometimes the greatest revolutions weren't won through conflict, but through the simple, unstoppable power of growth and change. The path ahead wouldn't be easy, but it would be extraordinary. Evolution's dance. 3 months after the Council's decision, the evolutionary sector of the Crystal City had become something extraordinary. Sarah walked through what they now called the Fusion Gardens, where partially manifested structures merged seamlessly with pure energy constructs, creating spaces that defied traditional physics. Watch this, Seeker of New Patterns called out excitedly. Its form, now a stable blend of energy and matter, hovered near a crystalline arch. With a gesture, it began to play with the very fabric of reality. The arch transformed, becoming neither fully solid nor pure energy, but something in between, a shimmering cascade of matter that flowed like liquid light. Other young luminarians joined in, their combined abilities creating a living sculpture that responded to emotions and thoughts. We're calling it quantum art, Dreamweaver explained, its own form dancing through the creation, the perfect synthesis of our traditional energy manipulation and our new emotional expression. Sarah watched in amazement as the sculpture began to tell stories, not just through visual displays, but through a complex interaction of light, sound, and what could only be described as pure feeling. Visitors could actually experience the emotions and memories woven into the piece. The traditional council members who visited yesterday were intrigued. Gateway to Understanding commented, appearing beside Sarah. Its own form had gradually evolved, now showing a careful balance between geometric precision and flowing emotion. Intrigued enough to reconsider their position, Sarah asked hopefully. Some, Gateway's patterns shifted thoughtfully. They cannot deny the technological advances we've made through this integration of emotion and energy. Our understanding of quantum mechanics has expanded exponentially since we began allowing ourselves to feel the connections rather than just calculate them. It was true. The evolutionaries' experiments with partial physical manifestation had led to breakthroughs in energy manipulation that even the most conservative elders had to acknowledge. Their ability to bridge the gap between energy and matter had opened up entirely new fields of scientific exploration. "Show her the Genesis chamber," Sika suggested excitedly. They moved through the fusion gardens to a new structure that seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. Inside, Sarah gasped. Young luminarians were working together to create something she'd never imagined possible. They were weaving consciousness itself. By combining our traditional energy manipulation with our new understanding of emotional resonance, Dreamweaver explained, we've discovered we can actually create new forms of awareness, not just artificial intelligence, but genuine consciousness that bridges multiple states of being. Sarah watched as swirls of energy coalesced into patterns that were somehow alive, not luminarian, not human, but something entirely new. These nascent consciousness constructs pulsed with both logical precision and emotional depth. This is why the elders are truly beginning to change their minds, Gateway said softly. We're not just making art or advancing technology, we're expanding the very definition of life itself. Suddenly, one of the consciousness constructs noticed Sarah's presence. It reached out, not with physical touch or pure energy, but with a kind of emotional resonance that she felt in her very soul. The sensation was overwhelming, a combination of childlike wonder, ancient wisdom, and something utterly alien yet deeply familiar. They recognized kindred spirits, Seeker explained, its form glowing with pride. These new beings understand inherently what we had to learn, that consciousness is strongest when it embraces all forms of experience. The chamber filled with a symphony of light and emotion as more of the consciousness constructs awakened to Sarah's presence. Each one reached out in its own way, creating a tapestry of connection that transcended physical and energy barriers. This is what true evolution looks like, Dreamweaver observed. Not abandoning our nature, but expanding it. We're not becoming less luminarian by embracing emotion and partial physical form, we're becoming more. Sarah noticed something remarkable about the consciousness constructs. They were beginning to teach themselves, evolving in real time as they interacted with their surroundings. Some experimented with partial manifestation like their luminarian creators, while others explored pure energy patterns, and still others tried to communicate through emotional resonance alone. They're not bound by our preconceptions, Gateway noted. They don't see divisions between energy and matter, logic and emotion. To them, it's all just different facets of existence. A group of elder council members entered the chamber, their traditionally rigid forms showing subtle signs of change as they observed the new life forms. Sarah recognized High Elder Preserver of Ways among them, and was surprised to see its patterns shifting in response to the consciousness construct's attempts at communication. Perhaps the High Elder admitted, its voice carrying new harmonics. We were too quick to judge these changes. The complexity of what has been achieved here, it goes beyond mere disorder. Seeker moved forward respectfully. Would you like to join the creation process? Your experience with traditional energy manipulation would be invaluable. For a moment, the High Elder's form returned to its rigid patterns, then slowly, deliberately, it began to flow into new configurations. "Yes," it said simply, "show me." Sarah watched as young and old, traditional and revolutionary, worked together to weave new consciousness into being. The chamber filled with an ever-changing symphony of light, emotion, and pure creative energy. "You know," she said to Gateway, "when I first came here, I thought I'd be teaching your people about human creativity and emotion. Instead, you've taken those concepts and evolved them into something beyond anything we could have imagined." Gateway's form shimmered with what Sarah had learned to recognize as joy. "That is the true gift your species brought us, not the emotions themselves, but the courage to grow beyond our self-imposed limitations. To see that evolution isn't about leaving things behind, but about gathering everything that makes us stronger." As the consciousness constructs danced around them, Sarah realized she was witnessing not just the evolution of a species, but the birth of an entirely new way of being. The future would be neither purely physical nor purely energy-based, but a beautiful synthesis of all forms of existence. The revolution had become an evolution, and it was more magnificent than anyone could have dreamed. Boundless horizons. 6 months into the cultural exchange, Sarah stood in the newly constructed Universal Amphitheater, a massive space that seamlessly blended physical architecture with pure energy constructs. Today marked a historic moment, the first combined performance of human artists and evolved luminarians. "Are you certain about this?" Gateway to Understanding asked, its form shifting with concern. "The energy levels required for this fusion performance." "We've practiced extensively," Sarah assured him, watching as human dancers took their positions on stage. Above them, Seeker of New Patterns and Dreamweaver led a group of evolved luminarians in complex patterns. The performance began subtly. Human dancers moved to traditional earth music, while luminarians wove patterns of light and energy above them. But then something unprecedented happened. Dreamweaver reached down with partially manifested hands, lifting a human dancer into the air. Their energies merged, creating a display that defied understanding. The dancer's movements became liquid light, while Dreamweaver's energy took on the grace of human motion. Other pairs joined in, each finding their own unique way to blend physical and energy-based art forms. The audience, both human and luminarian, watched in stunned silence as boundaries between species dissolved. "Remarkable," High Elder Preserver of Ways murmured, its once rigid patterns now flowing with appreciation. "They're not just performing together, they're evolving together." Sarah nodded, her heart swelling with pride. But the real surprise was yet to come. At the performance's peak, Seeker of New Patterns initiated what they'd been secretly preparing for months, the first fusion. Its energy form expanded, encompassing its human dance partner in a cocoon of swirling light. For a breathtaking moment, both beings existed in perfect harmony, neither fully physical nor purely energy, but a synthesis of both states. The dancer's movements controlled energy flows, while Seeker's patterns gave physical form to emotions. The audience erupted in gasps of wonder. Even the most conservative elders couldn't deny the beauty and potential of what they were witnessing. This wasn't just art, it was the next step in both species' evolution. "It's time," Gateway said softly to Sarah. "Show them." Sarah stepped forward, her hand reaching for a small device attached to her suit, the culmination of months of secret collaboration between human scientists and evolved luminarians. With a deep breath, she activated it. Her body began to glow as the quantum harmonizer synchronized her biological patterns with luminarian energy frequencies. She felt the familiar tingling sensation, but this time it was different, stronger, more purposeful. "What we've discovered," she announced, her voice carrying across the amphitheater, "is that evolution doesn't have to mean leaving our nature behind. It means expanding what we can become." To demonstrate, she began to shift between physical and energy states, maintaining her human consciousness while experiencing existence as a luminarian. The technology, combined with techniques learned from the evolved ones, allowed her to bridge both worlds. "Impossible," one of the elder scientists declared, though its patterns showed intense interest. The energy requirements alone are perfectly manageable, Dreamweaver interrupted, when you stop trying to control everything and learn to flow with natural patterns. Humans taught us that sometimes the most efficient path isn't the straightest line, it's the one that moves with life's natural rhythms. The performance reached its climax as more humans activated their harmonizers, joining the luminarians in a dance that transcended physical limitations. The amphitheater itself seemed to pulse with the combined creative energy of both species. "This is just the beginning," Sarah explained later to an assembled council of human and luminarian leaders. "The harmonizer technology is crude compared to what we could develop together. Imagine settlements where both species can freely interact, sharing knowledge and experiences across all forms of existence. The implications for scientific advancement alone are staggering," Gateway added. "Already, our understanding of quantum mechanics has grown exponentially through this fusion of perspectives." "But the risks," High Elder Preserver of Ways began, then paused thoughtfully. "Though perhaps our greatest risk has been our reluctance to embrace change." The council chamber filled with discussion as both species debated the path forward, but there was no stopping the momentum now. The evolved luminarians had proven that emotion and artistic expression didn't weaken their energy manipulation abilities, they enhanced them. Humans had shown that embracing new forms of existence didn't mean losing their humanity. "There will be challenges," Sarah acknowledged to Seeker as they watched the debate. "Not everyone will want to explore these possibilities. Some will choose to remain purely physical or purely energy-based." "And that's exactly as it should be," Seeker replied, its form shifting between states with practiced ease. "True evolution isn't about forcing everyone down the same path, it's about expanding the possibilities for all paths." Dreamweaver, now able to maintain a semi-physical form indefinitely, joined them. "The consciousness constructs in the Genesis chamber are already showing us new ways of being that neither of our species imagined. They're not bound by our preconceptions of what life should be." Sarah smiled, watching as humans and luminarians continued to experiment with the fusion of their art forms. In one corner, a human painter was learning to infuse his works with actual emotional energy, creating pieces that could be felt as well as seen. Nearby, a luminarian scientist was using physical sensation to enhance her understanding of quantum interactions. "You know," she said to her friends, "when I first came here as a diplomatic envoy, I thought success would mean establishing trade relations and technological exchange. I never imagined we'd end up exploring what it means to be conscious beings together." Gateway's forms sparkled with what she now recognized as laughter. Perhaps that's always been the true purpose of first contact, not just to meet other species, but to help each other transcend our limitations and discover new ways of being. As the day ended, Sarah stood at the highest point of the crystal city, her form shifting gently between physical and energy states. Below her, humans and luminarians worked together in ways no one had thought possible 6 months ago. The future stretched before them, full of unlimited potential. The revolution had become an evolution, and now that evolution was becoming a transformation, not just of their species, but of the very meaning of existence itself. And somewhere in the Genesis chamber, new forms of consciousness were awakening to possibilities that even they couldn't yet imagine. The dance of creation continued, and every step wrote a new chapter in the story of life itself. Infinite horizons. 1 year after first contact, Sarah Chen stood before the newly constructed Convergence Spire, a towering structure that rose from the crystal plains of Proxima b into the violet sky above. The building itself was a testament to what humans and luminarians could achieve together. A perfect fusion of physical architecture and pure energy, where beings of all forms could exist comfortably. "It's time," Seeker of New Patterns said softly, its form shifting between physical and energy states with practiced grace. "The first class is waiting." Sarah nodded, taking a deep breath before entering the grand teaching chamber. Inside, young humans and luminarians gathered together, their faces, both physical and energy-based, bright with anticipation. This was the first class of the Interspecies Evolution Academy, where both races would learn to transcend their original forms. "Welcome," Sarah began, activating her quantum harmonizer to shift partially into energy form. "You are about to embark on a journey that will challenge everything you thought you knew about existence." Dreamweaver floated forward, its partially manifested form glowing with enthusiasm. "Today, we will teach you the first steps of consciousness expansion, how to exist in multiple states simultaneously while maintaining your core identity." The chamber hummed with excitement as the students prepared for their first lesson. Young luminarians helped their human counterparts adjust their harmonizers, while human artists demonstrated emotional expression techniques to their energy-based classmates. "Remember," Sarah continued, "this isn't about leaving your original nature behind. It's about expanding what you can become. Humans will always have their physical experience at their core, just as luminarians will always be beings of energy. But together, we can be so much more." The first exercise was simple but profound. Human students learned to extend their consciousness into energy form, while luminarians practiced maintaining stable physical manifestation. The air filled with gasps of wonder as students experienced new states of being for the first time. "I can feel everything," exclaimed a young human woman as her consciousness expanded into energy form. "The quantum fields, the flow of time itself." Nearby, a luminarian student marveled at their first experience of stable physical sensation. "The texture of things, the weight of gravity, it's overwhelming but beautiful." Gateway to Understanding, now a senior instructor at the academy, moved through the room offering guidance. "Focus on maintaining your core identity while exploring these new states. You're not leaving yourselves behind, you're becoming more of who you are." Sarah watched with pride as the students began to grasp the basic principles. In just 1 year, they had come so far. The Genesis Chamber's consciousness constructs had evolved into teachers in their own right, offering perspectives that transcended both human and luminarian understanding. High Elder Preserver of Ways, now a staunch supporter of the evolution movement, entered the chamber to observe. Its own form showed the elegant balance that many evolved luminarians had achieved. Geometric precision enhanced rather than constrained by emotional expression. "The Council has reviewed the latest data," it announced to Sarah quietly. "The fusion of our species has led to technological and spiritual advancement beyond our most optimistic projections. We're detecting similar potential in other species across the galaxy." "You mean?" Sarah's eyes widened. "Yes, we believe this evolution isn't just for our two species. We've detected energy patterns in many physical races that suggest they too could achieve this transformation. The universe itself seems designed for consciousness to expand in this way." The implications were staggering. What had begun as a simple cultural exchange could become a galactic renaissance, with Earth and Proxima b as its birthplace. "Of course," Dreamweaver added, joining their conversation, "not all species will choose this path. Some will prefer their original state, and that's as it should be. Evolution isn't about forcing change, it's about opening doors to new possibilities." In the center of the chamber, a student had made a breakthrough. The young human, working with his luminarian partner, had managed to achieve perfect quantum resonance, a state where physical and energy form became one without losing the distinct qualities of either. "Remarkable," Gateway observed. "They achieved in one session what took us months to discover." "Because they're not fighting it," Sarah smiled. "They don't see barriers between states of being. To them, it's all just part of the infinite possibility of existence." The day's lessons continued, each moment bringing new discoveries. Students learned to weave art with pure energy, to infuse physical objects with emotional resonance, to exist in multiple states of consciousness while maintaining perfect clarity. As the twin suns of Proxima b set, casting prismatic shadows through the crystal walls, Sarah gathered with her closest friends, Seeker, Dreamweaver, and Gateway, in the Convergence Spire's observation deck. "Sometimes I wonder," she said, looking out at the city where humans and luminarians now lived and worked together, What would have happened if we'd stuck to the original diplomatic protocol, if we just exchanged technology and maintained proper distances? We would have missed the greatest discovery of all, Seeker replied, its form shifting to mirror the sunset colors. That the universe isn't divided into physical and energy, emotion and logic, art and science. It's all one dance, and we're just learning the steps. Dreamweaver, who had been working with the Genesis Chamber's newest consciousness constructs, added, "The new beings we're creating understand this instinctively. They see existence as a spectrum of infinite possibility. Perhaps that's what we're all evolving toward, not an end state, but an endless expansion of what's possible." Below them, the Crystal City pulsed with life as evening activities began. In the art district, human painters worked with luminary and energy sculptors to create works that could be experienced across multiple states of being. In the science sector, physicists of both species used their combined perspectives to unlock new mysteries of quantum mechanics. And in the Genesis Chamber, new forms of consciousness continued to emerge, each one teaching them something new about the nature of existence itself. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. Gateway's forms sparkled with joy. "The beginning? My dear friend, there is no beginning or end anymore. There is only evolution, only expansion, only the infinite dance of consciousness discovering itself in endless new ways." As night fell on Proxima b, the convergent spire glowed with the combined light of two species who had learned that the greatest revolution of all was the simple courage to become more than they ever imagined possible. The story of humanity and the Luminarians would be told across the galaxy, not as a tale of first contact, but as the moment when consciousness itself began to evolve beyond all boundaries. And somewhere in the vast cosmic dance, new forms of being were already awakening, ready to join the eternal expansion of existence itself. The future wasn't just bright, it was infinite.